In the heart of a quiet town, where the nights were often filled with a serene stillness, there lived a man named Jacob. He was an ordinary man, leading an unremarkable life, filled with the usual routines of work, rest, and the occasional social gathering. But one night, as the clock struck midnight, an unsettling phenomenon began to unravel in Jacob's home, which would forever alter the course of his existence. Jacob had recently moved into an old house, charming in its rustic appeal but burdened with shadows of forgotten stories. He often found solace in the solitude, but this night, a strange tapping noise echoed through the stillness, jolting him from his thoughts. At first, he dismissed it as an odd house settling or perhaps the wind playing tricks. However, with each hour that passed, the sound grew more distinct. Knock, knock, knock. It was rhythmic, almost deliberate, resonating from somewhere deep below the floorboards. A chill crept down Jacob's spine as he felt an inexplicable urge to investigate the source of the unsettling noise. He grabbed a flashlight, its beam trembling against the dim walls, and made his way to the basement door, a door he had never noticed before. The door was unassuming, blending seamlessly with the surrounding walls, its wood worn with age. But there was something peculiar about it. An energy pulsed against the air around it, almost magnetic, drawing him closer despite the apprehension that tugged at his instincts. He hesitated, hand hovering over the doorknob, as the knocking continued, now louder and more insistent. It felt like a beckoning, urging him to uncover what lay hidden behind this barrier. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the noise stopped abruptly, leaving an eerie silence that filled the air around him. Confused and feeling a surge of adrenaline, Jacob twisted the doorknob and pushed the door open. A gust of cold air wafted out, causing him to shiver involuntarily. The basement was cloaked in darkness, the faint beam of his flashlight revealing only the top of the stairs that spiraled downward into the abyss. As he descended, the air grew denser, heavy with the scent of dampness and decay. The beam of light flickered, and shadows danced around him, morphing into shapes that seemed alive in the darkness. Jacob's heart raced as he reached the bottom, flooded with a sense of foreboding. The basement was empty except for old crates and cobwebs that hung like curtains in the corners, neglected remnants of a bygone era. Then, without warning, a sound echoed through the chamber. A series of knocks, this time louder and more pronounced, resonating from a wall at the far end of the basement. Jacob's breath caught in his throat. He felt compelled to move closer, the sound drawing him in like a moth to a flame. As he approached the wall, he felt a pulsating energy radiating through the bricks, almost as if something was alive behind it. He placed his hand against the wall, the knocks echoing back in response to his touch, as if acknowledging his presence. Panic surged within him, yet curiosity outweighed his fear. Jacob began to pound on the wall, mirroring the knocks, desperate to communicate with whatever lay beyond. He was met with a sudden silence, a stillness that enveloped him like a shroud. And then, to his horror, a low growl emanated from the other side, a sound so primal it sent shivers down his spine. Jacob stumbled back, heart racing. The implications of what he had awakened began to settle in. What was on the other side? Why had he never noticed this door before? He turned to leave, but the door behind him slammed shut with a resounding bang, trapping him in the dark abyss. Panic set in, and he frantically tugged at the doorknob, but it wouldn't budge. As his mind raced, Jacob was struck by a realization. The knocking had not been random. It had been a warning, a summons perhaps, for him to stay away. But now he was ensnared in a situation far beyond his comprehension. The growling intensified, vibrating through the ground beneath his feet, reverberating through his bones. He felt the primal fear of something ancient and malevolent lurking just beyond the wall. In that moment, the oppressive darkness felt alive, suffocating him with its weight. His flashlight flickered again, barely illuminating the outlines of the basement. Jacob's breath quickened, and in a desperate search for escape, he called out, his voice echoing off the walls. "Who's there? What do you want?" The growling ceased, replaced by an unsettling silence that seemed to mock his plea. Then, the knocking returned, louder and sharper. It was no longer a call to his curiosity. It felt like a countdown, a warning that something was coming. Jacob backed away from the wall, his heart pounding in his ears, and began to search for another way out. He stumbled over the old crates, knocking them aside in his frantic escape attempt, but the room felt like it was closing in on him. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the wall, a thin line of light seeping through, illuminating the darkness around him. Jacob felt a surge of hope mixed with dread. He reached out, fingers brushing against the crack. The knocking grew frantic, echoing in his ears, drowning out everything else. He pressed harder against the wall, his mind racing. Was it a way out or a way in? Time felt like it was standing still. As he pushed against the crack, it widened, revealing a glimpse of a shadowy figure on the other side, indistinct but palpable. Jacob's heart sank. The knocking now resounded like a countdown to an impending doom. With a final desperate push, he forced his body through the crack just as the entity howled from behind. He tumbled into a narrow passageway, the cold air wrapping around him like icy tendrils. The growling turned into a roar, echoing behind him as he crawled forward, adrenaline surging through his veins. He had no idea where he was headed, but he knew he had to escape. As he crawled, the sound of his pursuer faded into the distance. Jacob emerged into an unlit corridor, where the walls were damp and the air thick with the scent of mildew. He stumbled forward, disoriented yet driven by a primal instinct to survive. The unmistakable fear still lingered in his heart, an imprint of the darkness that had nearly consumed him. The basement door, he realized, was not just a door, it was a threshold to something far more sinister. With newfound determination, Jacob raced through the twisting passageways, seeking an exit. He could sense that the darkness was still lurking, waiting, poised to reclaim him should he falter. With each step, he felt the weight of the basement bearing down on him, a reminder of the night that had almost swallowed him whole. He would escape, he vowed, for he had glimpsed the abyss and it had reached for him. But he would not return. He would find the light again, far from the basement door that had beckoned him at 3:12 a.m., and never look back.